Welcome to this very first webinar for our new conference, the Solarplaza Summit Energy Storage Germany, which will take place in Cologne at the end of November, on November 23rd. For this webinar today, you will learn about the storage capacity already in place in Germany, what are future expectations, and what are some of the key opportunities and challenges in the market. Briefly going through the agenda, I will start with a brief introduction about Solarplaza and what we do. And as an expert on the topic, we have with us today Jan Figgener. He's a grid integration and storage system analyst. Turn on your camera. Welcome, Jan. He is also leading a research team of 15 people at the RWTH Aachen University, and he's a senior battery expert at Accure Battery Intelligence. Jan, for now you can turn off your camera. I will let you know when you can start with your presentation. For now, let me introduce Solarplaza. Yeah, here's the slide. So we've been around already since 2004. Since then, we organized over 200 conferences on the topic of solar PV in 46 countries by now. Our goal is to accelerate the sustainable energy transition. And for this, we also have a consultancy branch in case you're looking for market entry or project development opportunities. You can find out more about this on our website. Also, we have a foundation with a few interesting projects around the world to accelerate the sustainable energy transition for everyone around the world. Yeah, now we're already at my last slide. So in case you have any technical issues, please use the chat box on the right. Then my colleague Bo will help you out. And also we reserve the last 10 minutes of this webinar for the Q&A session. So please ask your questions, and Jan will answer those at the end of the webinar. We do share the recordings and the slides with all webinar attendees within 1 to 2 days after the webinar. Yes, and with this, I would like Jan to please turn on your camera, and I give you the word for your presentation.
Then thank you very much, Selina, for the kind introduction, and welcome everybody to the webinar. Before we jump right into the slides, I would love to have a quick poll. The question I brought here today is, what is the largest battery storage market in Germany? And I would like you to choose from the options home storage, C&I storage, large-scale storage, and electric vehicles. And we'll unveil the answer during the presentation. So take your time and click. Okay, thank you very much for participation. We see that the home storage market, like 60% assume the home storage market to be the largest market. C&I is not expected by anybody to be the largest market. Large-scale storage is 15% and electric vehicles is 26%. And yeah, we'll get the answer during the presentation. So I would love to see the slides again. Perfect. So today we will talk about the development of battery storage systems in Germany. And the presentation is based on a publication we launched in March. And I'm happy to show the results. Many thanks to Christopher and Professor Dirk Wesauer for helping with the content. So let's start. Before we deep dive into Germany, I would like to have the global perspective on the storage market. What you see on this slide is the estimated stationary energy storage deployments by Bloomberg New Energy Finance. And what we see that is that the market is growing rapidly. Until the end of 2030, Bloomberg New Energy Finance expects a cumulative power of 400 gigawatts at energy storage capacity over 1 terawatt hour. So there's a lot to come, and when you look where we are, it's around 50 gigawatts. Then it's a long way to go. The regional distribution will be mainly like the largest share we'll see in Asia Pacific with a strong focus on China. Then we have Americas with a strong focus on the US, and within Europe, Germany is one of the key markets we're gonna dive in today. We split the market into 4 sub-markets. The first one are home storage systems. We call all storage systems smaller than 30 kilowatt hours a home storage system, although the average system is only around 9 kilowatt hours. Industrial storage is everything between 30 kilowatt hours and 1 megawatt hour, and we call everything above 1 megawatt hour large-scale storage system. And then, of course, the differentiation towards electric vehicles is quite simple, because everything that has wheels is considered an electric vehicle if it contains a battery. So let's start with the home storage market. By the end of 2022, we had 650,000 storage systems installed in Germany. And if we translate this number to storage energy, we end up at 5.5 gigawatt hours of cumulative installations by the end of last year. We see that the single years show good growth. So when we started the market tracking in 2013, it was only 5,000 systems per year. And last year we had 220,000 systems installed within 1 year, and growth is continuing. So let's have a look at the single system. The single system is quite small, with only right now around 9 kilowatt hours of battery energy. You see here the PV power in kilowatts, the battery energy in kilowatt hours, and the battery power in kilowatts in different colors. And the battery energy is the dark blue color. So that's the 9 kilowatt hours I was talking about. The PV system is about the same size when you compare like energy and power, with also about 9 kilowatts, but we see also larger and smaller systems. The battery inverter power has grown over the last years, especially since 2019. We see more and more systems having a larger inverter power because people want to charge the electric vehicle. They want to operate the storage system with a heat pump, and this leads to people preferring larger powers as well. When we have a look at the regional distribution, we can have a look at the right-hand side, where's the map of Germany, and we see that especially in the western parts and in the southern parts, the most storage systems are. When you have a look at the circle size, I just highlighted Berlin with about 75 megawatt hours. So yeah, you see that that it strongly depends on the region, of course, also on the number of inhabitants. And if you scale it down to number of inhabitants, the proportion stays approximately the same, but of course some relations will change. So after having a quick look at the home storage market, I would like to go into the C&I market, which we here call industrial storage market. And if we add the industrial storage systems on the home storage systems, we see that the market is quite small. So in red, you see now the industrial storage systems, and you see that the red colors are barely visible, and the market is, compared to the home storage market, very small, but still growing. Like we had kind of linear growth over the last years, but especially in 2023, I will come to that later, we saw better growth. So by the end of 2022, we see about 300 megawatt hours of industrial storage systems installed in Germany. And if we have a look at the use cases of these systems, then they are mainly operated together with PV systems, here symbolized by the green bars, renewable energy integration. So half about what's installed in industrial storage is for self-consumption. We do see also a combination of self-consumption and EV buffering. That's the yellow areas. We see uninterruptible power supply, and there's also a part we cannot say really what it is because there's no information available on the storage systems. What you also see on this slide is that the market growth is going up. So the yearly bars, they're getting larger and larger. If we again look at the regional distribution, we see a similar pattern as compared to the home storage system. So the western parts show many of these industrial storage systems, and also the southern parts. And like there's one big bubble with 14 megawatt hours, and yeah, by chance this is my home region. It's the Borken area, and yeah, that's a small side fact from my side. Okay, so let's have a look at the large scale storage market. We've already talked about the home and industrial storage market, and when we now add the energy storage capacity on the figure we already saw a couple of times, then we see that the large scale storage market is the second largest market in Germany, represented by the dark blue areas. And we see a market dynamic when looking at these blue areas. So we had quite strong installations. 2018, 2019 was less, 2020 was less, 2021 was nearly nothing. And then we see a big blue bar rising in 2022. And in the following, I would like to deep dive into that development and to see what made the market shift. So on this slide, you just see the large-scale storage systems in a similar manner than the slide before. And it is divided into the use cases these systems operate in. So most of the systems are in ancillary services. Like this is with a strong focus on frequency containment reserve. And this used to be the market where large-scale storage system operated until 2021. So you see that most of the storage systems that were built before were blue, and this is ancillary services. And the change happened and had happened in 2022, where we see new use cases emerge. So we see a blue, the blue area still ancillary services, but these storage systems are sometimes also built for secondary control reserve. Then we see a green area rising. This is a renewable energy integration, mainly large PV parks with a battery. And we see also multi-use operation like intraday arbitrage, frequency containment reserve in a mix. We see a small part of industrial energy supply emerging, so a large storage system installed at companies, and for self-consumption, for peak shaving, for energy optimization in general. And when we look at the end of 2022, we see that we had 1.2 gigawatt hours of large-scale battery storage systems deployed in Germany. And when we look at the announcements for the next 2 to 3 years, we already have more storage capacity announced than we have cumulatively installed by the end of last year. So there's a lot to come. And I can tell you that this bar on the right-hand side is an underestimation. It's just a couple of months old, but it's already larger, and we get like daily new announcements of storage projects, and like there's much more to come than shown here. So keep that in mind. A new use case emerging is definitely grid boosting. So there's 2 pilot projects planned right now for grid boosters. One is a 250 megawatt hour project in the southern parts of Germany, and the other one is divided into 2 projects with 100 megawatt hours each, and they will be in the north and in the south of Germany. And if these projects show to be good for grid operation, then there's much more to come in this area as well. Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper into that green area of renewable energy integration. Renewable energy integration is right now mainly driven by the innovation auctions that started in 2020. And when you look at the left-hand side, you see the projects that that will be built within these innovation auctions. You see the blue, like this dark blue bar, is the energy in megawatt hours, and the light blue dots are the power in megawatt. And what is very obvious is that the numbers change from auction to auction. And what is even more obvious is that in the December 22 auction, only one project was announced. And that is because of a shift in regulatory. So the previous innovation auction rounds, they had a fixed market premium, and then in December 2020, they changed it to a moving market premium. And that is that lowers the economics and the planability and bankability of projects, and this is why less storage projects apply for within these auctions. And the same was true for the first auction this year. Only 3 projects were announced within this auction. And there's another regulatory shift we can observe on the right-hand side, and that is the minimum storage duration. At the first innovation round, we had a quite unclear regulatory on what has to be the storage duration. So you could either interpret it in okay, it's 25 minutes, or you could say it's 1 hour, because it was not stated very clearly. These systems, they must theoretically be able to provide secondary control reserve, but there's different ways of interpretation. So there were some operators that said, okay, we just have to follow a specific pattern of discharging, and therefore we need 25 minutes. And others said, okay, we need to have a minimum duration of 1 hour, and they had a system design of 60 minutes. And then from April 21 onwards, the regulatory said very clearly, storage systems need to be able to discharge or charge at full power for 2 hours. And that is why most of the projects are in this 120-minute line. Still, we see also storage system design on the 60-minute line, although the innovation, like the rounds were a little bit further than the first one, but they will probably change their system design during commissioning, because in order to fill the regulation. And when we talked about the large-scale storage market, I told you, hey, this is an underestimation of the market, and this is why I brought this map as well. On the left-hand side, you see the storage systems that are in operation right now. So you see different circles, sizes. These are the different energies of the battery, and you see also different colors, and these are the different battery technologies. So most of the systems in operation are based on lithium-ion batteries. They are at largest at 75 megawatt hours, and they are well distributed over Germany. We do see some lead-acid batteries on the eastern part of Germany, and we do see a sodium-sulfur battery in the northwestern part of Germany. But apart from that, most of it is lithium-ion. I think there's one redox flow system in operation, but that is not registered in the database where we crawl the data from. And when we now look at the right-hand side, which is like the future, and it contains the operation, the systems in operation, and the planned ones, we see that today's circles become quite small tomorrow. So you see this 75 megawatt hour system that gets really small when we go to the right-hand side. We have projects announced, like the largest one is a 600 megawatt hour project at a power of 300 megawatts, so a 2-hour system. We see a 200 megawatt hour system in the north. We see the 250 megawatt hour system in the south. This is the grid booster project. So there's much more to come. And I know from various operators and commissioners that they don't even pre-register their systems. So there's a lot to come, we already know for sure. but we also know that there's much more to come than we know. So that's a very rapid development. And now we had a look at the 3 single markets, and in the next 2 slides I want to compare some key metrics within these markets. Let's start with the energy to power ratio, like the storage duration. When we have a look at the home storage market, we see typical energy to power ratios of around 2 hours. So the average system is able to charge and discharge at full power for 2 hours. When we go to the industrial storage market, we see that many systems are able to charge or discharge around 3 hours. That's represented by the median, like the point. When you weight the mean by the total installed energy and power, you get to 2 hours, and that implies that especially the larger industrial storage systems, they also have a lower storage duration. When we now move to the large-scale storage market, we see that most of the storage systems have a storage duration around 1 hour. Like, these systems were typically built for frequency containment reserve, and frequency containment reserve is typically operated with a duration of 1 hour. And this is why the market still has that average. But when you now have a look at the 2-hour requirement of the innovation auctions, you see that these systems, the systems we see in the future, are mainly 2-hour systems if they are installed with renewable energy integration, or if they go into the secondary control reserve market, then also 2 hours is favorable. So what we see in the future will not only be more storage systems, but also larger storage systems in terms of storage duration. The second comparison are prices, which are shown on this slide. On the left-hand side, you see the world market battery pack prices. They vary around 120 euros per kilowatt hour to 160 euros per kilowatt hour. And then on the right-hand side, which are the light blue areas, you see mean value ranges of turnkey battery storage systems. So the whole system is included: power electronics, installation, like everything. And you see that home storage systems have the highest specific prices. So you find mean values of around 1,000 euros per kilowatt hours to 1,400 euros per kilowatt hour. And this is because the home storage systems are, on the one hand, they are smaller. So of course their specific investment cost will be higher. And the second reason is that it's also a different market. While we have like a mainly business-driven market in the industrial and in the large-scale storage sector, we also have an emotional market. People want to use their own solar energy. They want to participate in the energy transition. And that's also a reason why people pay a little bit more money for the storage system. The industrial storage market prices vary from 580 euros per kilowatt hour to 710 euros per kilowatt hour. And also we see also in this region a decreasing cost with increasing system size. And when we follow this curve, we end up in the large scale storage market, where we see mean prices with between 310 euros per kilowatt hour and 460 euros per kilowatt hour. But you will find higher and lower values. So just to put an emphasis on it. And when we just compare the stationary storage market now with storage on wheels, which is just an electric vehicle, we end up at prices from 800 euros per kilowatt hour to 1,200 euros per kilowatt hour. And this is not the battery pack price, it's the whole vehicle price divided by the battery capacity. And you see that there's a lot of economic potential in using vehicle batteries for self-consumption or for grid services, because their investment costs are, even on system level, quite low, especially compared to the home storage market. And like, these batteries are already bought. Electric vehicles, they are only in operation for 3% of the time, like less than 1 hour per day. And most of this time, they're also available in front of a house. So yeah, these people pay electric vehicles for mobility, but they can use electric vehicles also for good services and self-consumption. And that's a big potential we need to unlock. So let's have a look at the electric vehicle market. The mean component sizes of like the core parameters of an electric vehicle are listed on this figure. You see on the left-hand side the average battery energy per vehicle. In the middle, you see the average charging DC power, and on the right-hand side, you see the average AC charging power. And what is obvious is that the battery energy increased over the last years. So in 2018, we had about 30 kilowatt hours of battery storage capacity, and that doubled until 2022 with 60 kilowatt hours. The charging powers also increased rapidly. You see that an average electric vehicle has a DC charging power above 100 kilowatts. And if you just divide the battery capacity by the DC charging power, you see that you end up approximately at a full charge of half an hour. The AC power is lower, but we don't need high AC power because cars stand still for many hours, and they can recharge the daily distance driven easily. Because the daily distance driven is only 40 kilometers per day. And for 40 kilometers per day, you just need approximately 7 kilowatt hours. If you compare this 7 kilowatt hours with the mean energy of 60 kilowatt hours, you see that you just use about 10% of the vehicle battery for mobility on average. So there's also big potential for using the battery for other services. So let's compare the markets, because that was the question we started the webinar with. This is just as a reminder, this is the stationary battery storage capacity. It's 7 gigawatt hours by the end of last year. And now let's just have a look what happens when we take the cars into account. If we add the vehicles, like these blue areas, they get very small. So most of the battery energy is installed in electric vehicles. And that's very important to keep in mind when talking about flexibility for the energy system. It's absolutely important to unlock this flexibility. By the end of 2022, we had 72 gigawatt hours of battery energy, and just 7 out of it was stationary battery energy. And if we compare this flexibility potential with pumped hydro storage systems, we see that right now the battery potential is even higher, because the pumped hydro storage systems, they just have 40 gigawatt hours, and the batteries have over 70 gigawatt hours. Of course, the electric vehicle potential needs to be unlocked through regulatory and also technological improvement. And the future is even bigger. If we now have a look from 2022 to 2030, we see a massive increase in capacity, and the ratio will approximately stay the same. So we will have 1 terawatt hour of battery energy in electric vehicles and 100 gigawatt hours of battery energy in stationary storage. So yeah, that's a lot to use for the energy system of the future. Let's draw a conclusion and have an outlook. So the home storage market is the largest market. It showed good growth over the last years, and the growth is continuing. Industrial storage market is the smallest storage market in Germany, but is on the rise. Large-scale storage market is within a renaissance, and there's much more to come. And the highest battery potential is in the electric vehicle market, and this is very important to unlock. And I just showed you the numbers until the end of 2022. So if you're interested in later numbers, you can just visit our 2 sites, which are battery charts and mobility charts. And I just brought you a quick overview about the first half year. You see on the left-hand side, you see the energy in megawatt hours. On the right-hand side, you see the power in megawatts. And you see that 2023 is a very strong year for battery storage. We see an increase of 170% within the first half of this year, and this is expected to continue. So yeah, thank you very much for listening to the presentation, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Thanks very much, Jan, for this very insightful presentation. Should we have the poll as well before we move to the Q&A?
Yes, let's have the poll before, then we can use it in the Q&A. So here's the question: which use case do you see most promising for the large-scale storage market in the future? And we have the options: ancillary services, arbitrage trading, renewable energy integration, grid boosting, and industrial energy supply. I'm curious what you think. Ancillary services, arbitrage trading, renewable energy integration, grid boosting. Yes, so we see that only 11% expect the ancillary services will be the dominating markets. In my opinion, it won't either, because the markets are quite limited in power capability, and there's a massive battery storage growth. The frequency containment reserve market is already saturated with batteries. We will have good potential for a secondary control reserve in the coming years, but this market will be saturated at a point in time as well. So this is why many storage systems will also rely on the arbitrage trading. And of course, renewable energy integration is also massive. So grid boosting, we'll have to see how these pilot projects work out. And industrial energy supply, nobody expected to be the major market, and I do neither. But we have more and more inquiries of large companies that plan around 10, 20, 50 megawatt hours for the industrial side. So it's not this market is not to be underestimated.
All right. Yeah, on this note, we can close this webinar. Many thanks, Jan, again for your presentation. We do have one more slide with the 10% discount code for our conference, valid for 1 week. You can use this code on our event page itself, on the registration page. And at the summit itself, you will also get the chance to meet Jan, in case you want to ask more questions directly. And we will have several case studies also from experts in the field. Many thanks, and have a nice evening, afternoon. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Bye.